HIMS, or the Human Intervention Motivation Study, was spearheaded by the Airline Pilots Association in the USA in the 1970s. It's been highly successful in helping treating pilots for alcohol and drug abuse. And since its inception, over 4,500 professional pilots have been successfully rehabilitated and returned to their careers.
It's not a recovery program in itself, it's a monitoring program for the recovery. So when a pilot is issued with special requirements by CASA to comply with evidence of stability, peer pilots like myself are able to help that pilot through that process to show that stability to the regulator to regain their medical certificate in a much shorter period of time than would normally be the case. It's a proven process where pilots generally will trust other pilots and to help them through that process. For pilots that have been diagnosed with substance use disorder, it's been a godsend for them in a lot of ways because they've been able to reach out to peer support and help them through the process. We look at other industries in this country and abroad. They value the human resources, and if someone's got an issue with drugs or alcohol, we should help them rather than be punitive.
On the 8th of March 1990, Captain Lyle Prowse became famous for all the wrong reasons, testing positive to alcohol after flying a Delta Airlines Boeing 727 between Fargo and Minneapolis, carrying 58 passengers. In fact, all the crew tested positive.
I was involved in the most egregious aviation incident that had ever taken place in American commercial aviation. And I was very aware of that.
And the ensuing media circus and court case ended with Lyle going to jail. But this wasn't the end of his story.
And I came out of prison, I was broke. I had these sanctions, I would never fly again. And I knew that it was done. However, I stayed sober. I dealt with life one day at a time. One day at a time. We had lost everything. And inside the next year, the judge, in a miraculous turnaround, lifted the sanctions on me. There probably wasn't a 1 in 10,000 chance, possibility that he would do that, but he did it. And I had no input into that. And now I've got to go back there and literally start from the ground up. And initially I thought that's not possible. My pilot friends didn't think it was possible. And as I sat and I looked at it, I thought, I stay sober one day at a time. Everything I do is based on the current moment and what's in front of me. And I thought, I'll do the licenses one license at a time. Everyone knew my name. I knew everybody knew about this matter, and there was no chance someone was going to hire me to fly their airplanes. And a month later, the licenses physically arrived in the mail. And within an hour, I got a phone call from the head of the pilot union at Northwest. A grievance had been automatically filed because of my termination. And I had not activated the grievance because Northwest Airlines was justified in terminating me, and I knew that, and I wasn't going to resist that or fight it. And this pilot said to me, this is the best phone call I've ever made, because he said 3 hours ago, he said, John Dasberg, who is the president and CEO of Northwest Airlines, this 50,000-man airline, made a personal decision to allow you to come back to Northwest and reinstate you into flight status. But what I have come to see is that when somebody recovers, when they get their life back, you know, we put a lot of emphasis on maintaining a heartbeat. We'll do anything to save a life and keep the heart beating. But we've got walking dead in here. The people with this disease are walking dead, and eventually it takes their spirit, it takes everything, and creates a tremendous amount of suffering. And when you see that turn, when you see that change, the HIMS pilots will be the safest pilots on the airline.
Lyle's story is absolutely amazing. From being a decorated fighter pilot in Vietnam War to a 727 captain with Northwest, to go back to begin from scratch from his private pilot's license right up through to his CPL, to his instrument rating, and getting his twin licenses back. And through his peers, he was able to get a lot more support as he went through the process from his good friends in the industry, so much so that the President of the United States at the time pardoned him